Ford Field is not ready for what this defense could look like if one more relentless finisher walks through that tunnel wearing Honolulu blue, and tonight I'm bringing you right into a conversation that feels like pure breaking news energy. Welcome back to Lions News Fan Report. I'm here with you, one-on-one, to deliver the most up-to-date reports, behind-the-scenes buzz, and serious analysis about our Detroit Lions. And what I'm hearing right now about the edge market, the deadline window, and a certain monster in Cincinnati should have every Lions fan glued until the end of this video. As we speak, the league is circling around impact pass rushers. Teams are calling, value is being tested and adjusted, and Detroit is no longer the desperate outsider trying to buy relevance. We're the contender that has to decide if one bold move on the defensive line is what separates fun story from no one wants to see us in January. I want to walk with you through why this conversation exists, what makes Trey Hendrickson such a rare piece, how his contract situation and recent developments opened a small but real window, how that window fits perfectly with the Lions' current arc, and only in tone, no ponto de máxima tensão, encarar a pergunta que todo mundo tá sussurrando. Is Trey Hendrickson to the Lions a real scenario or just a dream we enjoy for a few days? First, context that matters for us. The Lions built an identity, not a fluke. Offensively, we know what this team is: structure, toughness, balance, a locker room that believes in its own timeline. Defensively, the story has been written around Aiden Hutchinson as the tone setter, with the front office trying to find that consistent high-level partner on the opposite side. Year after year, we've seen flashes, experiments, rotational guys that help but don't terrify offensive coordinators on Tuesday nights. When you're in the tier Detroit is entering now, that's the difference. Do you have one blue-chip edge, or do you have two? Because two ends who win one-on-one change the math, the protections, the third downs, the way opponents call entire games. Now put that next to what's been happening in Cincinnati, an elite producer who has stacked double-digit sacks, pressures, and big-game moments. A player already recognized by his peers as one of the most dangerous technicians in football, walking into 2025 with contract noise, trade permission in the offseason, a revised deal that keeps him paid but doesn't erase long-term questions, and a franchise that flirted with and fielded calls on his name. When a team lets it get that far, when the relationship becomes public business talk instead of quiet long-term alignment, the rest of the league doesn't forget it. They monitor. They test. They wait to see if a disappointing stretch, an internal reset, or shift in direction reopens the door. And that's where the Lions come in as a terrifyingly logical fit in every strategic meeting across the league. Think about it on the field first, where everything starts. Put Hendrickson on the opposite side of Hutchinson in this scheme. You go from slide to 9-7 and survive to pick your poison and still lose. You force offenses to avoid long-developing routes, you speed up reads, you generate more turnover-worthy plays for a back end that has been built with physicality and ball skills in mind. You protect leads in a way Detroit historically never could. Instead of praying, you close games on defense like a mature contender. That's what real edge duos do. They don't just rack up sacks, they control tempo, they let your offense play freer, they force opponents to abandon their script because they don't have time. And we're not talking about a lottery ticket here. We're talking about a proven closer who has lived in double digits, who has shown up in big spots, who wins with hands, leverage, motor, not just one athletic trait that disappears with age. On paper, it's one of those rare marriages that makes immediate sense from day one of camp. Off the field, the reasoning is just as compelling, and that's why this rumor, Tancarda de assunto sério, now so conversa de bar. Detroit is in that small, precious window where your core is either on affordable deals, in their physical prime, or both. You've already paid key pieces, you know who your leaders are, you have a head coach and a front office aligned in identity. That's the exact context where you trade picks for certainty, not when you're trying to skip steps. A player like Hendrickson doesn't come cheap. You're talking premium draft capital, maybe a first-rounder or a package built around day 2 picks plus a controllable starter, depending on how Cincinnati positions itself. But for a franchise chasing a Lombardi instead of optics, the question is never, is it expensive? It's, does this maximize our next 2 to 3 seasons in a way nothing else on the board can? You also look at how the Bengals have handled his situation. A trade request allowed, market explored, later a big adjustment in his paycheck, strong public messages, but enough movement to tell everyone that this is a business partnership under evaluation.
If their season doesn't go as planned, or if they decide to reset some money and picks, the leverage picture changes. That's when a call from a serious contender with a clear plan for him on a winning defense hits differently. From Detroit's angle, the calculus is ruthless and exciting. You sacrifice part of your future to weaponize your present in a conference where one sack, one hurry, one forced fumble in January can be the difference between a legacy run and another almost. It's also about sending a message to your own locker room. We believe in you so much that we're willing to drop a star-level closer across from Hutchinson and tell the league openly that this window is real. And that kind of aggressive move, when aligned with the culture already built, doesn't fracture the group. It energizes everyone from the meeting rooms to the last row of Ford Field. But I'm not here to sell fantasy or treat every rumor like a done deal. I'm here to talk with you like someone who lives this team Toto Santo Day. There are obstacles, and we need to be honest. Cincinnati will not donate an elite edge. They'll squeeze every ounce of value while they can, especially after restructuring and reaffirming his status publicly. Any team trying to land Hendrickson has to both pay in picks and be ready to live with his number on the cap while still filling out a deep young roster. For the Lions, that means checking every layer. Can we pay him and still keep our offensive core intact? Still reward our own? Still maintain the depth that got us here? Can we integrate his personality and usage into a room that already has strong voices and a clearly defined tone? Those are not reasons to walk away. They are exactly the questions a legitimate organization has to answer before saying yes. That's why inside this scenario, the most probable version today is this. Detroit keeps doing its homework, keeps monitoring the situation, keeps the conversation warm without panic, and only moves if the price falls into that small zone where adding Hendrickson doesn't just look good on a graphic, it tangibly raises the floor and the ceiling of this defense without blowing up the long-term build. And this is the moment where we finally encaram o ponto central que você esperou até aqui. Could Trey Hendrickson actually end up playing for the Detroit Lions? The answer, con toda responsabilidade jornalística, is that it's a plausible, strategically coherent possibility born from real events. Trade permission, contract adjustment, high-end production, Detroit's clear pass rush need opposite Hutchinson, but not an imminent agreement or locked negotiation. It's not fake hype, it's not a closed deal. It's a scenario on the board that fits the profile of a front office unafraid to be aggressive if the numbers and the timing align. If the Bengals truly open the door and the asking price becomes something less than outrageous, Detroit has both the assets and the project to be one of the most dangerous callers. If they choose another direction, the simple fact that the Lions are now naturally linked to names at this level já mostra onde esse time chegou. Before I close, I want your voice in this. Because this canal exists because of the intelligence of our torcida. If Trey Hendrickson is really available for a heavy but fair package, would you push the button and put him on the opposite side of Hutchinson, even if it costs a first-round pick and a young piece? Or would you trust the current rotation and hold those picks to keep building through the draft? Tell me in the comments what price you'd accept, which combination of picks and players you'd put on the table, and if you see this move as the missing piece for a title run or an unnecessary splash. My straight conclusion for you is this: Trey Hendrickson to the Lions is not a wild fantasy headline, it's a serious, high-level rumor framework that makes football sense if the market breaks in Detroit's favor. And the fact we're even in this conversation proves that this franchise is operating on the contender tier. Until a real offer emerges and numbers leak, the smartest stance is calm aggression. Keep the lines open, protect the culture, and be ready to strike only if the deal turns our already dangerous defense into a nightmare unit built to win now without sacrificing the core of tomorrow. Stay with me, subscribe, hit that like, keep your notifications on, because here on Lions News Fan Report, I'm going to be side by side with you through every rumor and every decision that shapes the future of this team, always with honest analysis, fast updates, and that same belief you carry every Sunday that this is just the beginning for our Lions.